Living your values is not something you can just accept as we hope to get there. I really believe this is an important part of how companies work together, how they succeed together, and how CEOs create the kind of company that they really enjoy working at.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we look at the phrase that you've heard quite often, maybe you've read about it, living your company values. Living your values is something a lot of people aspire to. A lot of CEOs think about, creating a kind of company that people are, really working well together. They're collaborating. They're honest. They act and work with integrity. They respect each other. They communicate effectively. Whatever your values are, you want to make sure that the company is living those values. But here's the problem. It takes a lot of work and intention to make that a priority. And what gets in the way are things like the work, the KPIs, the difficult conversations that you have to have, the planning for the future, the looking back and realizing we didn't make, hit the goals that we really wanted to hit. Living your values is not something you can just accept as we hope to get there. I really believe this is an important part of how companies work together, how they succeed together, and how CEOs create the kind of company that they really enjoy working at. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm an executive coach for the last 10 years plus. I work with CEOs and their leadership teams to help them perform at a higher level, help them continue to grow through their company through chaos and through challenges, primarily working with the Inc. 5000 kinds of companies that are privately held, growing fast, companies you've never heard the names of, but you are likely, if you're listening to this, one of those companies that wants to grow faster than you're growing right now or continue the level of growth. We also do leadership development. We work with managers and directors and VPs to help them really understand what it takes to lead through challenge and chaos. And living your values is just one of the tools that we lean on when we look at working with companies and we talk about things that are out of alignment. We're not hitting the goals. We're not doing the things we wanted to. All this to be said, I was having a chat with a client of mine who's been a client for over 3 years. They've had tremendous success. I won't mention the name of their company because I don't want to break confidence. But we've gone from about 4 million in revenue when they first made the Inc. list to about, I think this year they'll do close to 18 plus. Now, what does that really mean when they grow that fast? Well, there's a lot of things that have to go well, that, a little bit of luck involved, but also very intentional about growth. And one of the things that we pushed off for a while was this whole aspect of values. We actually did it about 6 or 8 months ago. I worked with the executive team. I've got a process that I use to pull out of them the values. And so they agree together and they kind of take some ownership of this. It was really incredible experience because I remember discussing some of the values and this executive team was fighting for certain things about who they were. And they were disagreeing respectfully and said, no, that's not it. That's not clear enough. And it was really great to be a part of that. I bring all this up because that was the starting point. And then I had a conversation with a client just a couple of weeks ago where he was saying, you never know what's going to happen, but I've noticed that we're living the company values. I go, well, what did you notice? He goes, well, I noticed people making decisions based on values. Like, okay, that's pretty cool. What do you really mean? And so he tells me the story about he overheard some people bring up the values and say, well, if this is a value of ours, it's very clear we should go in this direction. And he was able to step back and go, that's really powerful to know that we're making decisions, which is the intent anyway of doing these things. But you never know unless you're living them. Now, we did a whole rollout phase to make sure this is going. And part of that rollout phase was we did a retreat. The retreat was probably 4 months ago, and everyone getting together, and they asked us to share the little graphics that we made with them when they did the values. And this is just something we do for clients. We don't charge extra for this at all. We just bake it into the entire process because it's just whatever they need. And they put the values in the back of the shirts, and all these shirts happen to be blue and it's part of the company colors. You get the idea. Well, another area of living the values, as an example, he comes back and says, without being told, many of the employees have started wearing them on Fridays so that we all have a sense of unity. And he thought that was really cool. And I think it's really cool. And hopefully you think that that would be really cool for people to do it, not because they were told to or they have to, it's because they want to, they get to. They get to express their appreciation for the culture and the people they have, and they want to live those values. Now, these are just two little examples. There's many, many more that we could talk about. But the question I want you to ask yourself is, are you living the values of the company to the highest level? Are you living the values of the company to the highest level? You can write that question down. We've done lots of podcast episodes about this. In fact, it's probably values come up more than any other topic across more than 1,000 episodes of this podcast. Think about that for a second. Why is that? Well, it's because it's so important and people don't realize how important it is. It's a blind spot. You want to make sure that you're engaging with living the values. Now, we've got a whole bunch of different ways to live the values. And if you want that list, I'm not going to put a gated page up there, but I'm going to ask you to send me an email. Go to genehammett.com, send me an email. Gene@genehammett.com is my exact email, and just ask for, how to live the company values. I'll give it to you. You don't have to get on a call with me. You don't have to put in your email address. I guess you are giving it to me, but I'm not putting you on some list. And I'm just making this easy because I know a lot of CEOs that are listening to this don't want to sign up for something and be a part of a newsletter. Totally get that. But if you want the support of living your values and go a little deeper than what we've talked about today, then I want to give you what you need, those tools. And just remind you that it's not enough to have values. You've got to live your company values. Living your values is really an important piece to creating the kind of company that you love to work at, that you're getting success, people are aligning together, and it gives you all kinds of tools to help people make decisions, help people, police the culture together, reward and recognize others. Those are just other examples of recognizing and living the values. And I wanted to remind you this today because living your values creates employee alignment. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm an executive coach. We do leadership development. If we can help in any way, make sure you reach out. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, live with courage. We'll see you next time.